Can't say I'm surprised by this result. This is kind of just who the Avs are right now. Avs lose to the St. Louis Blues 3-0.
Como has a breakaway.
This should be a quickie, as not a whole lot happened in this game, as is usually the case in these afternoon ones. Through the first two periods, Varley looked fantastic, so the Avs have that going for them. The rest of the team, there was a whole lot of averageness and below going on. One of the Avs' biggest issues in this game was the frat line. JT Compher, Alex Kerfoot, and Tyson Jost were put together. They've been together since Jost had been called back up, and the line just isn't working. In this one, and in the first period in particular, they were getting pinned in their own zone for way too long. I'm talking well over a minute of just not being able to control the puck and getting buried down there. It was at the point that they had more ice time than any of the other forwards, including the top line, because they just couldn't get off the ice. I know it's not a perfect solution, but if you move Soderberg up to that second line, he's proven he can consistently score in your depth, so that could at least give you an option, especially in a game like this where you're struggling to put goals in the net. Yes, you do have to put one of the young guys with some of the vets that struggle to really produce all the time, but on the whole, I think it would be a better overall look for the team. Ultimately, the Avs get outshot 14-8 in the first period and even needed a little help from the post to keep the game at 0-0. Through the second period, the Avs still didn't really generate that many chances. The ones they created on their own were few and far between, and the ones created off of mistakes by the Blues just weren't getting converted. When you're not taking advantage of those mistakes that your opponent makes, it makes scoring really, really tough in this league. The chippiness factor did pick up quite a bit through the second period here, so that gave power play opportunities to both sides. The Avs power play continued its absolutely brutal look through this month. They are now 0 for their last 23. Yeah, that's right, 0 for a Hayduk on the power play. Given how high-powered some of the players on this team are in the offensive categories, there is something just inherently broken here. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's the same thing. The lack of players willing to shoot, the sticking to the perimeter, the relying on the defenseman to be the man taking shots from the point. It's not a recipe for success. The second goes by, other than that, fairly uneventful. Varley still solid in the net, making up for any mistakes the Avs make, and it was a fairly even period, shots 11-11. And then we made it to the third period, where things actually happened. Just not good things. Varley had done a great job stonewalling Tarasenko up to this point, including a couple of grade A chances, but the Avs defense breaks down terribly, completely loses Tarasenko here, and it ends up in the back of the net. As Schenn goes to collect a loose puck down in the far corner here, everything seems pretty okay. You have Landeskog down on this near side along with Tarasenko here. What makes this situation a little bit awkward is you have both EJ and Barry on the same side here, and Barry's going to slide out playing in more of a forward defensive role, as Landeskog is left to cover that kind of near side defensive spot. As Schenn collects this puck, you're going to see the problem start to develop with the Avs. They all get caught staring at the puck, as often seems to happen, and not only are they staring at the puck, but everyone on the backside starts to drift towards that puck, completely leaving the near side unattended entirely, as Tarasenko, you can see, starts to slow up just at the top of the circle here. Landeskog ends up dropping back to directly in front of his net, which leaves him covering essentially nothing. He's just kind of sitting here with no Blues around him. As the play develops, Schenn is eventually going to drop this puck to O'Reilly here, and you're going to see Rantanen kind of drift over as well. He's kind of the high forward here, but he needs to either stay back, or Landeskog either needs to stay back here, because Tarasenko is still just sitting on that near side. Neither of them end up doing that, and to be honest, I think this is as much on Landeskog as it is Rantanen. If you're going to sit in the slot here, that pass coming through is on you to stop. There's no one in near your goaltender, so the only man Landeskog has to cover is Tarasenko and this passing lane to him. O'Reilly quickly snaps that pass across as Landeskog backpedals, opening up the lane. Tarasenko picks it up and just snaps it up over Varley. And that's the difference right there. The Blues big guns capitalize on the Avs mistakes. The Avs big guns can't do the same thing to the Blues. And as always seems to happen with this team when things go south, when it rains, it pours. Less than a minute later, it's 2-0 and this game is toast. It's a 3-on-2 break for the Blues here. Graves and Barry are the defensemen back, and you're going to see neither of them play this very well defensively. After allowing them in on the blue line for free, I will give some credit to AJ Greer here. He does a great job hustling back to almost make this a 3-on-3. Ultimately, that doesn't really have any effect on the play here. You can already see things going south for Barry as he's gotten turned sideways here and is going to just get blown past, and there's going to be no chance for him to stop Sanford driving the net here. Graves has slid over correctly to play the passing lane here, but he doesn't quite keep his spot correctly. As Sanford blows by Barry, he also gets in behind Graves. Graves keeps his stick out in front of him, covering a passing lane that is now behind him. Sundqvist hits that passing lane, it gets deflected right through Varley's 5-hole. This is another one that, in a perfect world, Varley makes the save on. Yes, it is a pass coming across, and it is a very quick redirect by Sanford through his 5-hole. But when Varley's really on his game, he can sense that and read where the other forwards for the other team are and snap that 5-hole shut because he knows it's coming. With that said, I hate the idea of a Graves-Barry pairing. I don't think there's any chance that that can ever work. Graves has been solid in limited minutes, and I think he can continue to do so in a bottom pairing situation, but when you have to put the heavy lifting on the defensive side by placing him with someone like Barry, I think that's a bit too much for him to handle. Either way, the Avs go down 2-0, and the rest of this game was just going through the motions of getting to this loss. The Avs would add one of those failed power plays about halfway through the third just to seal the fact that they're not going to be able to score on Jake Allen. And credit to Allen, he did play very well tonight, and that didn't help the Avs one bit, but this team has got to figure out a way to pick up a big goal or two when they need one. Right now, they're just struggling to find them. The top line's decline is starting to become an issue now. Rantanen has just 2 points in his last 8 games, and Landeskog and McKinnon aren't much better with just 4 points apiece. Schwartz would eventually dump one into the empty net to make it the 3-0 final. For what feels like the 50th time this season, the Avs fail to pick up any ground, and they desperately needed some of that here. And it kinda is what it is. These are my expectations of this team after that Toronto loss. I don't expect them to find a way into the playoff picture again. So, what I want to see is more of the prospects. Greer played almost 7 minutes tonight, not a ton, but he does seem to be finding a bit of a role for himself down there on the fourth line. Toninato had less than 6 minutes, but again, he's someone I would like to see more of. You have opportunities to potentially get Martin Kaut a few games. On the defensive end, you could take a look at someone like Nicholas Milosh. There are options for the Avs to get experience for their prospects down the stretch here. It could be a harsh last 25 games of the season, but somehow, some way, the future is always bright for this team. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. As always, a very special thank you to all of my contributors on both PayPal and Patreon. I appreciate every single one of you very much. If you want to join the names you see here on screen, there are some links down in the description of the video where you can donate. I'm Rudo3, and whatever you do, Avs, just don't buy at the deadline, okay?